Morning guys! So, Saturday morning stretch coming up. Grab yourself a towel for this one. We're going to do a couple of assisted stretches. There's a couple of hamstring ones and things like that in it. This session is going to focus a little bit on inner thighs and sort of like squat mobility. We had a few members during the week who found it difficult to get down into squat positions because they were tight in through the groin, and then heels kept lifting off the floor. So we're going to work on a little bit of ankle mobility also to help with that, because a lot of times most people can squat unless they have some sort of real hip impingement. Most people can squat, but they're either tight through the ankle joint, which causes them the heels to lift and they can't get down from that, or they're tight through the hips and groin. So we're going to focus on that, and then a little bit more on lower back, just for those who are back training and back at work. So we'll get warmed up and then we'll get ready to go. So just nice long circles round. I'm just going to raise that camera up until I move to the floor. Again, just nice long circles round. Back with the arms. Relax that down. Just next circles, just nice long circles round. Relax that, bring it back to center, just twist to one side. Back to center, twist to the opposite side. Change that over. Just nice and relaxed, stretching through to get down through that neck. And then we'll do one more each side. Letting the shoulders relax down into that. And then feet wide, hands on the hips. Just circle that round, just slow, long circles. So try and get as long as you can. I'm just coming from here, so you're pushing the hips back, out to the side, forward, out to the side. And the reason I'm saying that is some people plant this here and then they sort of will move their upper body, but it's coming from that hip. And that's just a coordination issue which some people might have. And they change. Nice and long round. Relax that in. Just hands on top of the knees, bend the knees slightly, hands on top, and we're down into them semicircles. As you drop down into this, and again, this is going to work into this ankle mobility, we're not letting the heels lift. So as you circle down and round, we're keeping the foot planted on the floor. So even if you want to grab the floor with your toes, bring that down in. The deeper you go with this, with the heels planted, so the knees are coming out past the toes. Absolutely nothing wrong with that. And then change. If you've seen things like that floating about social media about how when you're squatting the knees can't come past the toes and things like this, it's just misinformation. Knees are very well able to come past the toes. It doesn't damage the knees. It's, for most people, it's, if you're in a squat, last one, and all you're doing is knees past the toes, as in people that do this here sort of thing, then that's wrong. But it's when you break from the hip, the knees, if they pass slightly, your technique's good, there's nothing wrong with it. Under the ball of the foot, circles. Just circle and round that heel, keeping the ball of, or the big toe on the floor. Back the other way. And then we'll change sides, hand to foot. Change. Relax that. So with your towel, we're just going to start with a few shoulder dislocations, they're called. So you're just going to keep the hands out straight from here. Grab the towel as far as you need out, and then what you're going to do is you're going to come over and then pull through. Over and pull through. Some people can do this with a broom handle. I like a little bit of give on the towel. So pull through as much as possible. Try and keep the arms straight as you're coming up and around. So you're just coming over the head, down the front. Arm position stays the same. So over the head, down the front, over the head, down the front, just to work through a little bit of mobility for the shoulders. You can walk the hands in a little bit if you free out that little bit more. Make it a little bit more challenging, but not to the point where the arms sort of bending into 90 degrees as you come through. Last one. And we'll put that down. So it's a good one for pulling through. Just loosen up around that shoulder gurgle, which I find difficult to say. I forgot my train of thought. Where was I at? Shoulder mobility. So anyway, we're going to work on ankle mobility. I have something else to do there, but it'll come back to me. So ankle mobility. From this here, we're going to pick a point, maybe about 6 inches away from the surface of whatever you're going to use. It can be the wall. I'm going to show you on the counter because you won't see me against the wall. But what you're going to do is going to keep your heel planted, and you're going to push that knee forward. I can touch quite comfortably there. If you can't touch quite comfortably there, that's where you're going to start from. I need to pull back slightly. What I want is that I'm getting to the point where I can maybe about an inch away from it, 2 inches away from it. I'm going to pull back a little bit more. Now when I push forward, my heel stays down, my foot's planted. As I push, I'm getting a stretch through the Achilles, through here. And this is what I'm going to work on. It's not a back foot stretch, don't worry about this here, front Achilles. So I'm going to push for 6 reps. Good, and over the 6 reps, 2 more. There's a touch. There's a touch. I'm going to do 2 more because there's still a little bit of tension there. Last one. And up. Good. So that gives me a good about 6 to 8 inches away from the counter, which means my knee is getting a good push past by that amount. So it's getting a good bit of ankle mobility for that dorsiflexion that you need in your squat. Other side, make it tighter. So start slightly closer. See if you can touch. Can. Felt a little bit tighter when you pull back an inch. In. Yeah, still have it. Back to where I was, about 8 inches. Nope. So that's what I'm going to work on. Again, I'm trying to keep that heel down and pushing this knee forward. There's no point going in if you're going to lift your heel because you're not stretching. Keep the heel down, push that in, back out. Push that in, back out. Good. 5, no touch yet. 6, almost. We'll do 2 more. 7, nope. And number 8, and still no touch. So I need to work a little bit on dorsiflexion for that left side because I can't get in and out to work off that. So that movement forward and back is this movement here is what it's working on, this sort of flexion movement, which allows you to get down into your squat. So another one we're going to do for the squat, we're going to do Squatchy Stand. This is one we do as part of our mobility warm-up for the classes in the light group and also on the gym. And it's a good one for opening up the hips. Mistakes people make is that they allow themselves to come up onto the toes. So they sort of come down here, or they just sit like this here and they relax into it and you're not getting into that stretch to open up through the groin. So reach down, grab your toes if you can, push your knees out to the outside and sit down into it from here. So that's the bottom position of the stretch. So the bottom position is my heels are on the floor, my foot position is turned out sort of at 5 to 1. I'm opening my knees out in line with that, and then I'm trying to grab my toes and push my chest forward and sit tall. If you can't get into this position right now, then you work on sort of working your way down into that position. From there, you stretch up to get the hamstrings, and then you hold that, breathe out, knees out, knees out, knees out, push your hips down in, chest forward. Stretch that up. Bring that down in. Every time you do it, it should free out that little bit more for you. Stretch that up. Back down in. Knees out, chest tall. Let's get that a little bit looser. Stretch that up. Back down in. Stretch that up, and then we'll do one more, and we're going to hold the bottom position. Sit down now. From here, and do a pray. I do a fist, like a Kung Fu salute, because I like to push out. Keep my heels down now, push my chest forward, keep that chest tall, and then you do a small rotation. And all you're doing is adding a little bit of movement through the hip as you're in that bottom position. But this helps, you do the ankle mobility first to loosen it out, then you get in through this for that squatchy stand. And just relax into that. It doesn't matter if you're high at the minute, you work on getting down in. When I first started these, it was just a mess. Relax that. Hands on the floor, just walk the feet out. Straight the hips down, just do loosen out the hip a little bit. Shoulders back. We're going to bring that back up. We're going to circle the big toe out and round to the hand so it comes out and round. And that's stretching the back hip flexors. So I'll just move back up to the camera. So down in, foot's planted. The mistake people make with this is that they try and come straight up. Foot stops and then they think they can't get it in that stretch. Or they just do this and they're not getting the stretch. Circle. That drops you into that position. Chest forward. Always keep a strong chest. Relax that. I'm just going to move this. Opposite side. Strong chest, straight out in. So the foot's planted, the knees allowed to come out. This is getting a good stretch, and in through the inner thighs getting a good stretch. Circle round, change, plant. Circle round, plant. Change. Last one on this side. Then we're going to advance it. So the foot is beside the hand now. Just rotate yourself up. Bring that back down, change. Foot is or hand is beside the foot even. Foot is beside the hand. Bring that back up. You can do the opposite hand, but if you're really tight, you're not going to get that rotation round at all. So this is a good one to start with, because you've got balance here and here, so it allows you to get that rotation in at the beginning. Whereas if you were to try then to keep this and come this way, you've got a balance issue and then you've got a mobility issue, and most people at the start can't do it. So I'm not going to show it yet. Last one. Rotate that up. Bring that back down. Back down into that. So hold the same position, plant the hands up into that position. We're going to push back and I'm trying to get the heels to the floor, keeping the legs straight from there. So you're trying to lock the legs straight, flatten out your spine as much as possible. Then we're going to walk that forward, and we drop down into the stretch, shoulders back, hips onto the floor. Up we go again, push through. So I'm not just hiking up onto my toes and then sort of pushing my butt in the air. As I push back, I'm hinging like a deadlift from the hips, and I'm trying to push my shoulder blades through. Back down in, shoulders back, hold, back up in. So hinging back, shoulder blades through, legs locked out. And back down. We're just going to walk into the child's pose. We're going to sit back out of that. We'll bring that up. So, next one we're going to work on is the inner thigh. We're going to start with a child's pose, and then we're going to progress it into like a frog sit or frog stretch. We're going to do into a pigeon stretch, and I'm going to show that on the floor, but I'm also going to show it on a chair, because some people just don't have the mobility to do it on the floor. You can do it seated, or you can do it with your foot on the table or chair whenever you're doing it. But widen the knees out very slightly, toes can be together, and we're just going to reach back into that child's pose. So hands forward first, sit back as much as you can, and then walk your hands forward You want to get the stretch pulling down through here as well as just through that general hip mobility from here. So sit back. Breathe into the stretch. And again, if you can't get low, if you're up here like this and it stops, you just need to work on more mobility for yourself. Especially if you're a runner or you're a football player or GA player, cyclist, or a guy that lifts weights that doesn't stretch at all. Bring that up. So I'm just going to change this around so you can see. So I'm going to walk out my knees until I feel a stretch slightly. I'll move back until I get sort of a stretch in through the ground. Then I'm going to turn my toes out. This is where the frog position comes in. And then from that position, I'll just turn this slightly. So you can see from that position. So my knees are as wide as comfortable, so I'm not forced. My toes are turned out slightly. I'm sitting tall, and all I'm going to do now is take a breath in. I'm going to breathe out and sit back. I'm sitting back into that stretch. My spine is up, and then I'm pushing my hip back at that angle. Walk out a bit slightly, breathe in, then breathe out. If you are tight in the groin, this is not going to be comfortable at all. But never go to the point where it's fighting against you. I'm on the stretch, I can feel the pull, but at no point is the legs vibrating. Come out of it. If you get to the point where you're vibrating through the legs, sit back into it, breathe. Then you've gone too far and basically the body's trying to force you back out of the stretch. Never go to that point. Discomfort in the stretch where you can feel the pull like I can now, like it's just not overly comfortable, but it's not uncomfortable. Back out of it, and then we'll do one more, and then back into that. But it should never feel like it's pain or it's forced. And then we'll walk that out, and slowly walk your knees in. And then we'll bring that right. So the pigeon stretch. Again, we're working on through sort of hips and through the lower back. Glutes tie into the lower back ties into the glutes. So whenever if you feel tight in the back, it could be coming from the glute, and vice versa, it could be coming from the hamstring. We're going to work through all that today and just try and loosen it out. We're going to show the pigeon stretch, basically elevated on a table. You can sit on a chair and do a 90-90 stretch, which is similar, and then I'll show it on the floor also. So the 90-90 stretch. So the pigeon stretch on a table or elevated is this. So basically you are bringing the leg up to about 90 degrees. Stand up nice and tall, and you're going to try and let gravity take that knee that way. Again, you're not trying to force it. So get as close as you can where it's comfortable, and then you can add pressure. I don't like to add pressure by pushing. I like to add pressure by sort of just letting the arm relax on it, and then add a little bit of pressure from there. If that's still uncomfortable, if you do this here and your legs up here, then you really, probably 90-90 stretch might work better for you. You really need to work on that hip mobility and through that glute, because you should be comfortably able to stand up tall and let the leg get to here. And then what you're trying to do is keep 90 and get down as close as possible while keeping that tall spine position. So again, cyclists, runners, footballers, GA players, anybody general day to day, if you exercise, if you're a weekend warrior, you should be working on hip mobility. Everybody should be working on mobility. Bring that up out of that and we'll change. Just relax it down. So foot up, on, and then stand tall and let gravity do the work. Come down now. Again, you're trying to get down into that. And this doesn't have to be a table if you can't reach the table. This could be doing it on the chair. So it could, if you're really mobile, it could be the kitchen counter. If you're able to get up into it, you're able to stand tall, because that would bring a taller person up into sort of that 90-degree position. But it's just pulling through here, into the glute, and through that hip flexor for me. And again, it's 90 degrees. A lot of mistakes people make when they come into the pigeon stretch is that the leg is bent back underneath them. It's sort of back into like this position, and you're not getting the hip stretch, because this is easy. It might be easy if you're very tight, but if you're on the floor and your foot's sort of like this, then the idea of the stretch is taken away. You need to get it out to that sort of 90 degree position so that you're getting the benefits of the stretch through the hip. We'll bring that down. So that can be tight for you, just be careful of that. I suppose I should turn my camera. On the floor, the 1990s stretch on the chair is the same thing. So you sit up tall, from here, foot onto the knee. And then you pull yourself tall. So sit up nice and tall, pull yourself forward, tall spine, you'll feel that engaged straight away. Mistakes people make with a lot of stretching is whenever they go into the stretch, they relax. They're down here, and they're slouched. And you're not getting the same benefit. So when I'm sitting here slouched, I don't have anything on my hip capsule at all, or anything pulling through the lower back, or anything coming around from the glute. Once I pull up, and I sit into a tall position with that stretch, straight away I can get it coming from my glute to the lower back and coming around into my hip flexor. And again, I like to just do this. That's how I add pressure to that stretch. I'm not forcing it. The weight of my arm is just adding a little bit of pressure through it, and then you sit tall and you breathe into the stretch. With the 90-90 stretch, you're going to hold it for about 30 seconds each side. And it's a good one for people that find the pigeon stretch difficult if they can't get the foot into the position. I'm not going to do 30 today, but just to give you the gist of what we're doing, because I'm moving on to the pigeon stretch on the floor. So again, find a position, 90 degrees, pull yourself tall, arm on the thigh, relax into that position. And then breathe into it. Throughout the stretch, don't slouch. Don't get into the habit where you're sitting and then you start relaxing down. Chest forward, tall spine. Let this do the work. I'm going to get it. Again, it's pulling from my glute more so into the hip on this side. No two sides will be perfectly the same for some people. And then we'll bring that up out of that. Relax that down. So moving on to the floor, so the pigeon press on the floor. And again, it's important for that 90 degree position, what we're looking for. So when you get into the pigeon stretch, try not to be like this, because you're getting a bit of a stretch sort of in through that groin and a little bit in through the glute when you're down like this, and it looks like you're in the position. But my foot now is under me, like this. What I want is that foot's coming out at 90 degrees. And it's not going to be as comfortable to do for most people, and most people's mobility at the very start won't allow them to do this on the floor, which is why elevating it onto a chair, elevating it onto a table or something, it will be slightly more comfortable for you. So what I do with this is I get into a position like we did at the start, only I pull the foot through underneath, I plant that foot, and there's the stretch. So 90, foot planted, and then I let gravity do the work of trying to get that glute down to the floor. I'm not trying to force my knee into the floor with this. I try and get that my glute and knee go down to the floor together while I stay tall. Breathe. I have a little bit of fight happening there, so I'm going to release out of it slightly. Down to there, where there's no fight now, but it's still got that stretch. And the hands out. Again, that might be impossible for some of you, so concentrate on either the 90-90 on the chair or do the pigeon stretch elevated, or the pigeon pose, as some people call it. I call it pigeon stretch. And then down. This side is a lot tighter, so I have no hope of getting near the floor with this one. So I'm going to stay tall, and we posture up and let that just stretch. I'm getting that right into that glute here. Breathe into it. And we'll bring that out of that. Good. Just stretch that back. And then we'll bring that up. So we'll work into the quads, and then we'll work down onto the back with the towel for the hamstrings and then we'll do some lower back work on the floor. So quad stretch, again, onto your side or your front. If you can't grab it off your front, so people go onto the front, they start this, or they're throwing it up and they're trying to grab it. Come onto your side. Bring your knee to your chest, grab your foot or your shin, depending on what your mobility is, and then put your knees together. That's your stretch. And then breathe and hold. So you're always trying to keep the knees together, you're trying to push that pelvis forward now to get the stretch through the quad. Same on the floor. If you're on the floor and you're able to grab, don't just be loose. Actively push your pelvis into the floor while your heel's at your butt, and you'll feel that stretch a lot more. Then we'll change hands, or go onto your side, knee forward and do the same thing. Again, actively grab, and then pelvis forward to engage the stretch and hold. Relax that down, right onto the back. So from there, another position which will work similar movements for that, same as the pigeon stretch. If the others were impossible, is foot in the knee and then just push. So left foot went on top of the right knee, and then I'm just going to push that hip out from that. And that's another simple one that you can do where you're supported and you're just working and concentrating on just putting pressure onto that to push it out. Because I've done the 3 before it, this is really easy for me today. I can get that out into that 90 degrees position really easy. For some of you, you may not be able to. And then to progress this, you can grab through, grab the hamstring, pull up in. As you pull up in, push that knee away. So you're actively pushing the knee out to hold the stretch and hold into that position. And the knee, put that back down, change sides, so right foot on the left knee, hold the position, and then push out. And just breathe in through that stretch. And then when you're done, reach through, grab, pull. And then we'll relax that down. So we're going to move on to using the towel. So the towel is going to help us with our hamstring stretch, especially for some of you that are really tight through the hamstrings, which a lot of people are. The hamstring stretch, you always want to keep the legs straight, and some people struggle to do this. So the towel gives you that little bit more control in that you can sit back further without having to grab your hamstring itself. And the length of your towel will determine just how much stretch you put into this. So basically what you're going to do is lock the legs straight, pull your toes back towards you with the towel slightly, and then I'm going to bring this back with me. Up and hold. So we're going to hold this for 15 seconds. After that, we're going to go out to the outside and pull up for 15 seconds. Just hold and relax into it. If it's difficult to keep this leg straight, you can bend it if you need. And that always allows me to get in a lot further. So that's why I prefer to be here, because it automatically takes me back into a better stretch. From here now, I'm just going to twist myself around slightly so you can see. I'm going to go out to the outside, what's comfortable, while this shoulder stays down. And then I'm going to pull up and hold for 15 seconds. So important with this one is this hip stays on the floor, this shoulder stays on the floor. There's no point putting the leg out if you end up twisted up. So everything needs to stay down. Go as far as you can with to get the stretch. Leg straight and then pull. And then hold that stretch. And then bring it back up to center. Now we're going to come across the body. This will be uncomfortable for a lot of you and me. Again, go as far as you can. Opposite shoulder stays down, opposite hip, and then pull up. This one's usually the worst for most people in that it pulls through the outer hamstring and out through the calf, down into the soleus, and it's just uncomfortable. But breathe, don't let it fight. Always discomfort's fine, it shouldn't be fighting against you. Bring it back to center, bend, and the change. So again, we're going to come up from there, legs straight, toes pulled back towards you, sit back into it, back, 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 and hold. So hold that stretch, and you may find that the calf is pulling more than the hamstring. If that's the case, you can relax the toes to the ceiling slightly, pull in that little bit further just to let that hamstring engage a little bit more. Especially if you're sort of tighter in the calf than you are in the hamstring, we still want to get that good hamstring stretch. So when you're ready, out to the side, opposite shoulder, opposite hip stays down, and then pull up. And then back up, opposite side, that's tight, and then pull up. So this is uncomfortable, but it's not fighting against me, it's not trying to push back against the tile. And that's important with your stretch. Keep that leg lock straight, don't let it bend. 3, 2, and 1. Bend the knee, bring that back up. Good. So lower back ways, we are going to tee the hands out to the side, legs up to 90 degrees, and then we're going to fall across. We're trying to keep the opposite shoulder on the floor as much as possible here, and keep the legs up at 90 degrees. Again, things that people do with this is that they end up down here, and you've got a slight little bit of a stretch. We want to bring that up to 90 degrees and 90 degrees, and keep the opposite shoulder down. So you're getting a good pull through that thoracic spine, through that lower back, and coming out outer glute as well. Breathe into it. Back up to center. Down the lower side. Oh, that's a lot tighter. So if this happens, like what happened with me, this went down, this came up, what I'm going to do is I'm going to just reset my shoulders a little bit, twist this way. Then I'm going to take a breath in, keep these knees down, breathe out, and go into the stretch. Now breathe and relax into it. So that happened with me because there's a little bit of tightness through the lower back on that side, but also that pec is tight. So when the pec is tight, it'll pull off the floor as well because the arm can't get down as far. And breathe. Then we'll bring it up. Actually, roll with this and then roll back out of this. And then we'll set it up. So we'll actually just do the wide stretch today because we've done a lot for the hip. So just for that lower back, sit tall, feet as wide as you can. Don't let again, no fight. Chest nice and tall. We're going to reach up and over the ball, pull back in. We're going to reach up and over that big Swiss ball and pull back in. So again, imagine there's a big exercise ball. We're trying to reach over it. That pulls you up out of your hips. You have to reach over the ball, which keeps you out of your hips and reaching forward. And then you just build it back up through the vertebrae into a tall sit again. So whenever you're ready, 3, 2, 1, big breath in. Breathe out. Breathe in, breathe in, breathe in, breathe in. Up and over, breathe out. Breathe in, breathe in, breathe in, breathe in. Sit tall, breathe out. Lifting out of them hips, reaching forward, not slouching. Back in, back in, back in, back in. Out of my hips. Stay tall, reach forward. Back in, back in, back in. The last one. Up out of my hips, reach forward. And back in, back in, back in. Feet together. Sit forward. Hands facing the opposite way. Roll the shoulders back. Chest push forward. Sit forward slightly. And then try and get the stretch through them biceps and coming into the pecs. What we don't want to do with this is drive the head forward or stretch the head back. It's neutral. I'm driving my shoulders back and my chest forward, and then the strain is coming down through the front of my biceps. Keep that up. Nice deep breaths as you do it. And relax that back slowly. Always come slowly out of stretches. Try not to jump in and out of them. We bring that up on the feet. I'll just move the camera because we're going to do just a couple of standing stretches to finish. So from there, just stretch that up and push back. We're going to reach to the side with that, and then I'm going to do, so I'm not twisting, I'm staying tall, and then I'm going down. So it's going to pull straight down through that side and hold. So I'm reaching across. You can support here if you want, if it supports that rib, just to allow you to get across. Back, change, support the rib, lean into it. Back and change, hands out, stretch back, hands up the ceiling, and then push the thumbs back the way. So palms are up and then thumbs go behind you with the arms straight. Round front, push your shoulder blades forward as if your arms have been pulled out the sockets. And then around the back, roll your shoulders back, tuck them into your back pocket, and then pull away. So this one, people tend to leave the shoulders forward and do this. Put your shoulders in a bad position. So round the shoulders back, chest is forward, shoulder blades down in your back pocket. So push down, then pull away. You get a better stretch. And relax that. That's us, guys. Hope you have a good Saturday. As always, we're training people in the gym in Letterkenny. For those of you that live locally, we are taking on new members for the start of August. And then online is running all the time. And we still have loads of people who are training from home who can't make it to the gym. And then, as always, we have always trained, especially busy mums and dads who can't physically get to the gym because of the kids. We're able to do that through Rush Fitness Live at home. And I'll stick both links down in the comments of this. Have a good Saturday, and I will talk to you all during the week.